I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Davis from Drone Camps RC, and check out what I have here today. I have a new little friend from Flex RC. Thank you, Dimitri, for sending me this kit. I built this in a couple hours, and after I was done with it, I swear I felt like I needed some kind of micro award. And also, Albert Kim, you built the same one. I saw your review, and I had some of the same issues that he had on his build, so he built his first, so I had something to go on there. And originally, I'll tell you what I did. Originally, when I built this, I decided to try to build mine and stack up and put everything on top, because my friend there, Albert, he put his ESC stack on the bottom, and I believe that's the way Dimitri has his on the site, so that's probably the way it needs to be done. But I thought maybe I could get away with just having everything up top. It would look cleaner, and when I put the props on, they were hitting the back of the camera mount. So don't make that mistake and try to put your ESC stack up top. So what you have to do is actually put it down bottom here. You can see, and get this to focus here, you can see where it comes down another stack. And some guys will use the bottom plate. There's a bottom plate that can go on the very bottom here and protect the ESC a little more. You can just add a couple more standoffs there. I have some extra standoffs left back here, but I didn't choose to do that. I used a piece of VHB on the bottom of the 4-in-1 ESC. This little, I think it was called the Pepper. What's it called there? It's called the Tiny Pepper 1S Cube. And the flight controller in there is by Lumineer. It's a tiny fish, and it has a built-in FrSky receiver on here with an antenna sticking out the side. So I was super stoked about that, because it was actually pretty easy to bind up and get working, get all the channel maps working inside Betaflight. Everything was perfect. They already had some of the signal wires soldered up correctly to the flight controller, so all my motors were in order, thank God. But I did have some issues with the BL Heli Suite not loading for me. But motor 1 was here, motor 2, motor 3, and motor 4. So whoever soldered up the ESC signal wires going to the flight controller, that was correct. But what I had to do was I actually had to run the ESC signal wires up through the middle of the frame. So I had to desolder that to get the ESC stack underneath here, because the wires wouldn't fit around the arms. Even though the frame is pretty small, I just couldn't make it fit. So I just took a picture of how they were, because they're actually different. And I believe if you look on the Lumineer or the Flex RC website, you'll see that this signal wire layout was initially labeled wrong on the board. So they show you the correct layout for that. But if you buy this from Dimitri, the way I got it, it was already wired up, so you won't have to worry about it too much. So just take a picture of it. One of the other things, you know, I was thinking that I was going to be able to just, after I get everything built, turn this on and test it with a battery. Just to make sure everything was arming and working before I put the props on. But when I turned everything on, I noticed that one motor wasn't spinning. So I got kind of suspicious and looked closer at it. And I noticed that this piece of heat shrink coming off of the end of the motor is so thick right here that it's actually, it was touching the motor bell and causing the motor not to be able to spin. So I grabbed one of my flathead screwdrivers, I put it up in there, and I pressed it down as much as I could. But no matter how much I seemed to press on them, they still kind of rose back up and ended up in the motor bell. So I actually had to take a little tiny zip tie and put there. Just to, you can see that little bit of separation there. It's just probably less than a millimeter separation between this motor bell and that piece of heat shrink. So go ahead and get a micro zip tie and zip tie those down, and then you'll do a lot better flying it, because you won't have a brownout. Pretty important. that you don't burn up your ESC because of that. Also, if you look at the very top of this, you notice I didn't use the motor screws for the props. I just didn't need them. I press fit these on there. I was able to get every single one of them all the way down on top of each motor, so they're all level. And they fly really well. You don't want to try to trim these back, because it won't fly if you had to trim these back at all. You need every bit of thrust out of what kind of little bit of prop you have here. But indoors, this will be a super fast flyer this winter indoors. I'm super excited to have something that's 1S for flying indoors, zipping around the house, because I think this is going to be a great replacement for something like the Tiny Whoop. This was my original rack and heli frame, and I had a lot of fun with this one. Some people complained that the outer edges of this frame dent, and mine dented up a little bit, but I just used my fingernails and kind of bent it back. And I like this lowrider camera style. But look at the size comparison here, like the two, they're very, very close in size. It almost looks like the Nano X is like a little bit smaller. Pretty amazing, because we've come a long way since using these types of motors on something this small. If you're new to this, these brushless brushed motors over here, the cousins of these, they don't last as long. So the benefit of having something brushless is going to give you a much better, longer life on your quadcopter. So you're not going to have to replace them as much. But on the flip side of that, you can damage and break these out in the field. So that is going to have to be determined over a little bit, a few months of flying this one. Now this kit also comes with prop guards, and this prop guard actually fits all the way around this, just like this, and you can save your props. I usually don't fly with prop guards on my brushless micros. Most of you guys have seen me flying on this channel. I'm not a big fan of prop guards, so I usually just take them off. I think they affect the flight characteristic. This one probably not, because it's so tiny, but then again, we're saving another gram or two by not having them on there. And these actually fit. They just go underneath the arm. Before you put your motors on, go ahead and try to put these on. And they snap up under the frame just like that. They're pretty easy to install, actually. So if you want prop guards, no problem. Not a big deal, you can put them on. Now, looking at it from the very back, you got a pretty decent amount of camera tilt here on this as well. But we're also using a JST. Anything smaller than this just isn't going to work. It's not going to give enough power to this power system. So you want to stick with this JST. Don't try to use these smaller Tiny Whoop style connectors. It's not going to work. So speaking of that, batteries, I have all kinds of batteries here to try, because over the years on this channel I have gotten a ton of 1S batteries for all kinds of different little tiny clones and cheapies that I've flown. So I have a variety of different sizes here I wanted to try out, because I wanted to see which one is going to give me the best flight characteristic. You want a nice long flight time, but you also want something that's going to give you a nice flying quad. If it's too heavy, then it's going to fly like a hog. So 600 is probably pushing the edge of what this thing can carry as far as performance wise. Now what I would probably suggest, and I'm not sure that this is totally right yet because I don't have a high rated 1S battery yet for this one. These are just 25C, but what I think flies the best on here so far is the 350 milliamp. This one seems to have the best power to weight ratio. And then there's the SEMA size battery. This is a little tiny SEMA clone, and this one's 500 milliamp. Now I think 500 and 600 are probably going to be a little bit too heavy, particularly for this quad. I have some other ones here. This is from the X Predator. This is a 600, and that's also probably going to be too heavy. And I have a 250 milliamp one here. That would probably be a pretty good size. And excited about this battery, because this one's a 35C, and this is I believe this one's 300. Yeah, 300 milliamp for this one. So I can't remember what quad this one came off of, but if you look up the spec on that, you might be able to find these on Amazon or something. But I'm hoping that Dimitri has a battery suggestion for this quad, because in my field tests, and I went out early this morning before everyone else got up, and before I even had coffee, and did this flight test because I was so super excited to fly this for you guys. This is just a really awesome little quad. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the scale, and I'll do some weigh in here for you. And this scale is really exact, by the way. It's not a postage scale. So we're looking at 28.9 grams. Pretty light. And my original Tiny Whoop custom build was 21.5 grams. 21.6. Pretty amazing. For a Tiny Whoop, if you know how much Tiny Whoops generally weigh. And we have the Baby Hawk here, a little size comparison of this one. This is my new Baby Hawk from Emax with a sort of transparent frame there. Just go ahead and set that one on there so you have an idea what the Baby Hawk weighs versus the Nano X, and 71.6 grams for the Baby Hawk. And I have another guest on the review today. This is the BQE Mini Pixel. And this one's coming up for review on the channel. This one is a super hot quad. We'll go ahead and weigh that guy. And this one is 60.7 grams, 60.6. So pretty awesome. Go ahead and turn that off. And yeah, I gotta say, like, so far, I think this is gonna be a really wicked quad for this winter. A lot of guys wanted 1S on the channel, and here it is, guys. So we have a 600 TVL camera on here. I believe it was up to 40 channels, pretty standard 5.8 setup. But I'm making this review after the fact, and after the fact that I did go out and fly, so I can give you some sort of preview for the flight test. There's some issues with my batteries, probably. I don't feel like these are high rated enough to keep this one in the air for some strange, maybe it's a reviewer's curse or for some strange reason. These batteries didn't seem to keep this thing in the air. I was able to do a pretty nice line of sight flight test right in front of the camera, but when I started trying to FPV, going like 35 feet away, it was just immediately fail-safing on me. So I don't know whether it's this antenna right here sticking out the bottom, and on my first flight I had it actually glued up behind this stack right here on the camera mount, just to keep it away from the props and put it a little higher up so maybe I'd get a better range. You're supposed to be able to go out pretty good range, you know, a couple football fields with this receiver, but I wasn't getting more than like 25 feet away before it would fail safe and fall into the grass and reset. And that might have been the ESCs resetting because of the batteries I was using. So Dimitri, if you have a battery that you recommend, or you guys are flying one of these Nano X's and you have an awesome battery, please let me know, because I definitely need it for this quad. Definitely would make this one fly way better. Now, one more side note that I'm adding into this video. It was kind of hard to get these posts up through this camera mount right here. These holes through this camera mount, they're 3D printed, so they're actually almost impossible to get those up through this. And the way I achieved and did this perfectly was actually take this little drill bit right here and just by hand take it and run it up through the bottom of each hole through the camera mount and just groove it out a little more, because otherwise it's absolutely impossible to get these stems, these bolts up through here. It is a long, narrow plastic bolt, and when you try to turn it with your micro screwdriver, it's going to bend and flex, and it's just not going to have enough torque to get up through there. If it was metal, it might, but it's plastic, so it's not going to work. So the bit that I used was this one right here. So if you have this drill bit in your drill bit kit, go ahead and grab it. I think it's the perfect size. You can just kind of put it up through there and ream it quite a few times to get it nice and widened. But after I did that with this drill bit, it actually, the post screwed right up through there, and now I didn't even have to use nuts on the very top of this because it has such a tight fit. So this is a perfect solution for this camera mount. But I have very high hopes for this quad because I think Dimitri over at Flex RC is an absolute genius. I'm just going to go ahead and say that his quads have been some of my favorite brushless micros this year, and you guys have seen a ton of different brushless micros on my channel. I know my stuff when it comes to brushless micros. This one is no exception, and I got to be fair in this review and say that I don't feel like I have a good enough battery, like I said, to power this system properly. Kind of frustrating because I really want to fly this one. So I'm going to be making a battery order pretty soon to get mine flying absolutely perfect. And I'll try to provide an action video at some point when I do get the right batteries on this one. But we'll go out to the field and we'll do a flight test on this one. It's super early in the morning, so no one was around. It's absolutely perfect time to fly. But please do check out flexrc.com, and like I said, I'll try to put all the links down below for this frame because it is 100% amazing. In my line of sight acro test, I was able to do full flips in acro and recover from it with these motors, and these motors were actually the best tested motors that Dimitri used for this build. He also used some Raystar BR 0703s, and those were 20,000 kV and 15,000 kV motors. And I think he's got both of those listed in the parts section for this this particular kit page. And I think the kit alone, by the way, if you wanted to build it yourself, it would be like $20 for this kit. And then you can add your own components on there. But you should be able to get one of these going fairly cheap. Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and go out to the field and do a flight test of the Nano X. Alright guys, welcome to the field. It's early in the morning and we have the field all to ourselves, so we can go ahead and do an LOS flight test of this little Nano X by Flex RC. It was quite a build, but I'm excited to try it out because I have these smaller batteries on here. These are the 380 milliamp 1S. We'll see how these little 1102s do on there. 16,500 kV. They're super hopped up, so let's go ahead and do the LOS test. I'll show you a punch out and then we'll do some FPV after that. I'm going to go ahead and plug in the battery. I've got the Tyrannus plugged in over here, so we should be good to go. And I'll hit record on this one too, just to give you another perspective. Okay, here we go. It doesn't have a beeper on it, so I'm probably going to keep it in kind of close. Go ahead and flip into acro, air mode. Try to bring it a little closer for you without hitting myself. Let's do a little punch out here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Not bad. It is saying telemetry loss and telemetry recovered when I go out a little bit. Okay. Has a decent punch out on that 380 milliamp. And it has enough power to save itself. Whoa. Oh. Went down. It's not going to be a huge freestyle machine, but you know what? For indoor flying this winter, it's going to be a huge upgrade to something like a tiny whoop. This winter is going to be really interesting. Probably got just a little bit of battery left here. Maybe the board reset after that crash. Okay. And you don't have a whole lot of battery life with these. They're it seems like we still do have some battery left though. Wasn't flying that long. My rates aren't super high, but it will do a flip, as you can see. Oh, and I'm also flying an acro line of sight with this little guy, so kind of challenging, but that's what it's all about. Trying to see what things are capable of. So that seems to be resetting every time I crash. That's kind of a bummer. It only takes a second to reset it, but Just keep that in mind, guys, when you do crash. I really have to get a beeper on here too, because I don't want to have to try to find it out in this field. Whoa, that those rates need to go way up for me to be able to do flips. Okay, let's see if it'll arm now. Uh-oh, we got a bent prop. Those props seem to be pretty durable. Okay, let's go ahead and try that again. There we go. Would be a lot easier to see it if I did have up. Wow, it just cut completely off. I think that battery is done. Those don't last super long. I do have another type of battery here in this box. This is a 500 milliamp. Quite a bit bigger, about 5 more grams. We'll see how that one works out, but let's go ahead and do some FPV with this little Nano X. Oh man, guys, kind of disappointed. I had to go back to the GoPro instead of doing FPV, because it seems that no matter what I did with this antenna, this is the antenna coming off the board, I had it stuck up behind here with some hot glue, and I thought that would keep it out of the way of the props, but the problem was that I was fail-safing not even 10 feet away from me every single time that I got past this tree over there, and I don't understand why. Maybe it's getting low critical battery state. Maybe my batteries are crap. I don't know. But I had a whole bunch of different batteries here to try out. A bunch of different sizes that I showed you guys earlier. So I pulled the antenna off the back where I had it hot glued, and I put it down here out to the side so that, you know, we get maximum signal. And we're supposed to be able to get quite a ways away with this little tiny fish, this tiny pepper fish here, but kind of strange that I can't. So I'll show you what it looks like when I plug in. Telemetry recovered. You guys did hear that before. It was kind of going in and out. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and arm the motors. Now it's gonna make a fool of me, but I bet you it drops out of the air. And there it goes. Probably reset again. I'll probably have to unplug it and plug it back in again. Okay. Yep, kind of annoying. Little annoying. Okay, starting over again. I haven't had my coffee yet, you guys. You know how it goes when you haven't had your coffee and you're dealing with something like this. Telemetry lost. And fell on the ground and reset. Yeah, guys, I don't know. Maybe it's these batteries. Maybe they're crap. Maybe I need an awesome battery to review this thing, but just wanted to show you guys that. Of course, give you an honest review, tell you what's really going on here. I think if you get this one, you need some super high rated, C-rated batteries. I have one here that's actually, the highest rated one that I have here is 35C, and this one just really doesn't do it either, but we'll give that one a try. Real quick, before I take off and have some coffee. Snuck out of the house early this morning just to go do this review because I was super excited. I couldn't wait. Couldn't wait to fly this one for myself and for you guys. Here we go. Alright, stand up straight. Okay. Oh, come on back. And it's really hard to find too if you lose it. It dropped out of the air again. Yeah, so if you do build this one, absolutely put some type of a beeper on it, because if you're not ripping your goggles off your head when you crash to see where it falls, it is almost impossible to find this. So keep that in mind. My New Year's resolution was to have beepers on everything this year, because I've lost quads in the last couple of years, and it always sucks to completely lose a quad. After you spend time building it, you know, it's kind of important and special to you. Okay, here we go. Come on, stand up. All right. Okay, I'm gonna go into acro. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is not working out so great. The first initial flight test this morning with it seemed to do pretty good, and just for testing, I will go ahead and, for testing's sake, I'll go ahead and add a fresh battery on here. And these lighter batteries really do fly way better, but I'm not convinced that the C rating is quite high enough to handle this power system. Otherwise, great. I think these 1102s just require quite a bit of punch from the battery. Okay, get it to stand up. All right, there we go. Let's try that again. I'll go ahead and flip into acro. Oh, man, it hit me. It actually hit me in the head. Well, yeah, that's the end of that review, and I'm gonna go get some coffee, you guys. Hope you have a nice day. Yeah, I really like this one, and I actually showed it to my other half last night at the kitchen table, and I told her, I was like, you know, I went through several iterations of building this, so I feel like I deserve some kind of micro award for putting this together and actually getting it to working status, because it's not an easy build. You're going to have to really pay attention to my video and Albert Kim's video over there. He did his a certain way and I did mine a certain way, but neither way is wrong. But I believe I need some better batteries for this, and if I do get some better batteries, if you guys find the right batteries, anybody out there, please let me know and share it on the channel with the other guys, because I think a lot of people will really like this if we can get past this battery issue. So thanks again for watching, you guys. I'm Justin Davis. This is the Flex RC Nano X.